Bobby O.J., my man from WDIA.
DK, how you doing, man?
Well, I think you broke my record, 43 years in radio, huh?
Yep, 43.
Wow, but you're from Batesville, Mississippi, Bobby?
Batesville, Mississippi.
How did you get all the way from Batesville, Mississippi up to Chicago radio and all that?
Well, I started out in Montgomery, Alabama in 1972. And worked my way back to Milwaukee that same year, and then ended up going in '73, went down to Houston to work for the Star broadcasting chain, and I was there for a little while and ended up going up to Flint, Michigan. I was there for a little while, then went back to Houston in 1975, and Chuck Smith from KKDA in Dallas was passing through, heard me, and he needed someone to replace Tom Joyner, who had left Dallas to go work in Chicago. So I replaced Tom in Dallas in 1977, and in 1978, someone heard me on the air in Dallas, and they thought I would be a great replacement for Tom again at WBMX in Chicago, so they snatched me out of Dallas and sent me to Chicago. And that's how I got to Chicago.
Man, you traveled. You did some traveling, didn't you?
Yeah.
When you went over to DIA, Bobby O.J., years ago, who was the PD? Who hired you over there?
As a matter of fact, the same guy who hired me in Chicago brought me to Memphis, a guy by the name of Ernest James. He was working with Chuck Scruggs, who was the general manager at the time. The station was owned by Viacom, and so Ernest James was overseeing WDIA and KDIA in Oakland, and I had worked for him in Chicago, and he thought that I would be someone who could program WDIA and do the morning show, and he called me. Well, I called him. I thought he was in Oakland, but he was here in Memphis taking care of some business, and so I was right down the highway at my parents' home in Batesville.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey man, I got a job for you. Can you come to Memphis?" And I said, "Yeah." So I came up here, and they gave me the job as program director and morning man in 1983, and I've been here ever since.
Bobby, you know, the things have changed in radio, and I noticed that on DIA, you do a lot of talking, but you do play some music.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we only stop 3 times a day to talk. We stop on my show at 9 o'clock in the morning, from 9 to 10, and then Bev comes on at 11, from 11 to 1, and she'll, you know, her show is, you know, basically talk. And then we'll stop music in the afternoons from 4 to 6 for talk, but all the other times we're a straight up music station. Straight up music. Yeah.
What do you think about today's music, Bobby O.J.?
Well, I got to tell you, Boo Mitchell and I were just talking about that earlier, and today's music is just not what we're used to hearing, man. I think we grew up on the best music in the world, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Oh, absolutely.
Sam Cooke.
Yeah. So
James Brown.
Oh, absolutely. So we're spoiled.
Yeah.
You know, so when we hear this new stuff today, we're thinking, oh man, bring me some Al Green, you know?
Yeah. Well, that music, Tommy, back in those days, like Sam and Jackie Wilson, and Jackie and some of those guys from, you know, the OJs and like, you know, the group and everything. And they were just great talent, man.
You know, and back then, man, you know, 70s and 80s, even the 90s, man, a lot of the artists wanted to know the radio people. But today, we rarely see anybody.
You don't see anybody?
No, we rarely see anybody. These guys will come to town, you know, they don't come by the radio station, you know, it's no meet and greet. It's rare. It's just, you know, the business is not what it was when, you know, we were around in the 70s and 80s in the high times.
Well, I'll tell you, Bobby, when I was with Elvis one night, and we're driving around, and he said, GK, do you ever go to the DIA Goodwill Review? I said, it's funny that you ask, Elvis. I've been there when they're having one tonight at the Ellis Auditorium. He said, well, let's go down there. You know somebody? I said, yeah, I know the stage manager. So he said, well, I'll park in the back and let us come in. And we came in, and Rufus grabbed Elvis by the hand. Elvis Presley. Rufus was dressed like an Indian. Remember when they did that deal?
I've seen the picture.
Yeah, so we come in, and he grabs Elvis. And Elvis, come on out here, Elvis. Elvis said, Rufus, I can't sing out of car. He said, I don't care. He said, they won't let me play your music on DI, so I'm going to prove to the PD that the kids love you. So he pulled Elvis out on stage, and Elvis shook his legs, and the kids went nuts, man.
Wow.
Hey, man, they charged the stage. And as we were leaving, this guy walks over. He said, man, I saw you with Presley. I said, yeah. He said, I'd like to meet him. I said, who are you? He said, my name is Brooke Benton.
Wow.
I said, well, he didn't have no hits then. He was just on the show as an extra added attraction.
Right.
So I said, Elvis, this guy wants to meet you. His name is Brooke Benton. And Elvis said, are you that guy that has sound like Don't Be Cruel, I'll do anything you want me to do? And the guy said, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Elvis said, why didn't you send it to me, man? He said, well, I didn't know how to get it to you. He said, GK, give him all information, my publisher in New York. And so he sent a song up, and Elvis cut one of his songs. But the point I'm making, there was a lot of stars that got their breaks on the Goodwill Review and DIA.
And I got to tell you a little piece of Elvis history there. Elvis Presley is probably, well, WDIA is probably the only radio station, only black radio station in America that's ever played a record by Elvis Presley, and we still do. On Sundays, Mark Stansberry will play an Elvis Presley record on Elvis's birthday, on the anniversary of his death. So, you know, I think that's that's special right there.
Exactly. Well, see, people give Dewey Phillips credit for at nighttime, 9 to midnight. He was playing all rhythm and blues, but Elvis also listened to DIA in the afternoon.
Yes, of course.
And so we all did, and that's how it all happened. And Elvis, people say, well, how did Elvis cut That's All Right, Mama, and some of those blues songs, you know? And I said, well, because he listened to the Memphis black stations.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
Sure. Well, Bobby O.J., is anything I always get off on tangents when you come down. Ladies and gentlemen, when you talk to a radio guy, I don't get a chance, and it's great to talk. Let me tell you about this guy, Bobby O.J. He's been on the show 2 or 3 times, and there's no, when I call for him to be on the show, there's no, well, what am I supposed to wear? What time? Oh, I don't know if I can make it or not. Bobby O.J. said, I'll be there.
Absolutely.
You're the real thing, Bobby O.J.
Thank you, George. Thanks for inviting me.
I love your show at DI.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby O.J., GK, Memphis Sounds.